This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
Nabil Abu Rudaina, the spokesman for the Palestinian president, said that President Mahmoud Abbas is carrying out a series of Palestinian, Arab, and international communications to contain the crisis and prevent a deterioration in the situation, especially since there are Israeli threats to carry out an incursion into the Gaza Strip. The statements by Abu Rudaina came after the Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert said that he ordered the Israeli army to be prepared to carry out a wide-scale attack on the Gaza Strip after an Israeli soldier was kidnapped during a Palestinian attack yesterday.
The crisis of the kidnapping of an Israeli soldier still dominates the Palestinians' political landscape because of fear and anticipation of Israel's response. In the latest, the Israeli forces have amassed on the periphery of the Gaza Strip, waiting for the 0 hour, after the Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert ordered them to carry out a wide-scale military operation in the Gaza Strip. The Palestinian president carried out a series of communications with Arab and international fronts in an attempt to pressure Israel not to follow through with its threats. He urged everyone to take responsibility before it was too late.
The situation has reached a dangerous point. We want everyone to stand up to their responsibility. The president is working day and night to prevent a military, economic, and social catastrophe. Efforts are being made by our brotherly Arabs and by our friends to try to stop any Israeli attack.
The Palestinian government, which called for preserving the life of the Israeli soldier and not sparking a military escalation, described Olmert's statements as dangerous, confirming that it is important to exert all effort to resolve the crisis as soon as possible. Moreover, the Palestinian government warned Israel of the repercussions of creating a bloodbath.
This is a dangerous decision and will contribute in creating a military escalation and create a crisis situation more than anyone had anticipated. The region will enter a cycle of blood and Israel will not benefit from this dangerous Israeli escalation. There are various fronts that are trying to resolve the current problem in a calm manner and far from escalations.
The Palestinian public dismissed the Israeli threats and called for the Palestinian factions to continue its policy of kidnapping of Israeli soldiers in order to free prisoners from Israeli jails.
They have a lot of Palestinian prisoners. Israel must release these prisoners.
We ask our brothers to remain firm in their decision to continue the resistance and the policy of kidnapping Israeli soldiers in order to free Palestinian prisoners.
In the face of Israeli threats, the Palestinian factions announced a state of alert. Hamas threatened to expand the resistance. The Al-Aqsa Brigade said that it manufactured new weapons that will be a surprise to the occupation forces if they decide to enter into Gaza.
The IDF today blew up the tunnel used in yesterday's deadly attack at Kerem Shalom. Meanwhile, security officials continue to investigate the meticulously planned operation. IBA's Leah Stern takes a look at how the terrorists managed to infiltrate Israel and attack the IDF positions from behind.
IDF engineering units today blew up the kilometer-long tunnel used by terrorists in their attack on the IDF's Kerem Shalom position. Troops found a number of branches stemming from the tunnel, which were probably intended for additional attacks. The following is a step-by-step account of one of Hamas's most successful attacks on the IDF in the past 6 years. At 5:30 a.m., a terrorist penetrated Israeli territory from Gaza through the kilometer-long tunnel, 200 meters of which is inside Israel. The group then splits into 3 subcells. The first cell of 4 terrorist attacks an IDF tank with 4 soldiers inside from behind. The tank commander, First Lieutenant Hanan Barak, and Staff Sergeant Pavel Slutsker are killed instantly. The tank driver is left in the vehicle and is moderately to seriously wounded. Corporal Gilad Shalit, the 4th IDF soldier in the tank, is wounded but still alive and is abducted by the terrorists. 6 uninjured terrorists escaped back into Gaza by blowing up a section of the fence, taking the soldier with them. Meanwhile, 2 additional terror cells moved southward. The first cell shoots anti-tank missiles at an empty armored personnel carrier, completely destroying it. The 3rd cell approaches the kibbutz Kerem Shalom watchtower. A gun battle ensues. Both terrorists are killed, a soldier is moderately wounded, and 2 others lightly wounded when an explosive device on one of the terrorists' bodies goes off. Several questions regarding the attack remain. Was the IDF sufficiently prepared, especially in light of an intelligence warning from the Shin Bet security service? How are the terrorists able to surprise the soldiers from behind? Why weren't any of the troops facing that direction? How did such a long tunnel go undetected? Was the army slow in realizing that a soldier was missing and reacting once they did? IDF Chief of Staff Dan Khalutz has appointed Reserve General and former head of the National Security Council, Giora Island, to investigate the circumstances of the attack. The report is due out in about 2 weeks. This is Leah Stern for IBA News.
France announced that it is in contact with concerned parties to ensure the release of the kidnapped Israeli soldier who also carries a French citizenship. This comes as senior Israeli officials announced that Israel will make sure to disable the Palestinian government led by Hamas if the kidnapped soldier is not returned alive. Ambiguity still overshadows the fate of the Israeli soldier who was kidnapped in southern Rafah. Minister of Housing and Construction, Meir Shetrit, demanded that the Israeli soldier be released without any preconditions. Shetrit referred to the soldier by the words, quote, kidnapped Israeli soldier, end quote. Shetrit told the Israeli army radio that there will be no prisoner exchange deal and that the military option is still open for Israel. Meanwhile, the French Foreign Ministry said that it is in contact with all concerned parties in order to ensure the release of the soldier who turned out to be a French citizen as well. The Israeli radio reported that a delegation of Egyptian security officials have spoken with the kidnappers of the Israeli soldier through a third party. According to the same source, the Egyptian delegates said that the kidnapped Israeli soldier was injured and he is now in stable condition, but refrained from making further comments. The Israeli government decided to postpone a wide-scale military operation that was scheduled to take place in the Gaza Strip in an attempt to free the kidnapped Israeli soldier who is believed to have been captured in Gaza. The Israeli government announced that it is determined to use all means necessary to achieve this end, and that it has given a green light for a series of operations scheduled to take place over a long period of time in the Gaza Strip.
An Iraqi Qaeda-led group said yesterday it had killed 4 Russian embassy staff it had taken hostage. A statement posted on the internet includes footage of the execution. The group had demanded that Russia withdraw its troops from Chechnya and release all Muslim prisoners. The web posting showed video footage showing 4 men speaking in Russian in video statements dated June 13, 2006. It also showed 2 militants beheading one of the men and the shooting of a second, after showing 4 men speaking in Russian in video statements dated June 13, 2006. In Moscow, a Russian foreign ministry spokesman could not immediately confirm the report of the deaths. The 4 embassy staff were kidnapped and a 5th was killed when gunmen blocked their vehicle in Baghdad on June the 3rd. The group of 8 foreign ministers will urge Iran this week to accept a proposal for talks on its nuclear drive unless Tehran responds first. A Japanese official said today that foreign ministers from the group of 8 industrialized nations meet Thursday in Russia to prepare for a summit next month, with the crisis over North Korea and Iran set to feature on the agenda. The 5 permanent UN Security Council members, Britain, China, France, Russia, and the US, plus Germany, offered the package in mid-June, offering incentives and multilateral talks to Iran. Tehran, in exchange, would have to temporarily halt uranium enrichment activities, which lie at the heart of fears the Islamic Republic could develop nuclear weapons. The 6 countries asked Iran to respond by the end of the month, but President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad said Tehran would wait until August 22nd to give a formal answer.
Iraqi parliament members confirmed that the National Reconciliation Initiative, endorsed by the Iraqi Prime Minister Noor al-Maleki, contains comprehensive solutions for all obstacles hampering efforts to get Iraq back on track. In an interview with Iraqi TV, Iraqi officials confirmed that they completely support the initiative and all efforts aimed at accomplishing such a mission.
Iraqi political parliamentary blocs confirmed that they all support the National Reconciliation Initiative endorsed by the Iraqi Prime Minister Noor al-Maleki. The most important articles are as follows: to adopt honest national dialogues while dealing with opposition groups that may have different views from the government, to issue a general amnesty for all Iraqi detainees who have not been convicted of war crimes or crimes against humanity, to draft measures to improve public services, especially in hotspot areas, to make the security forces a separate and non-political entity that must not affiliate with any of the competing political blocs, and to dismantle illegitimate militias and armed factions. Several Iraqi leaders from various parliamentary blocs confirmed that they support the initiative, hoping that it will meet ambitions of the Iraqi people, especially in areas of security and public services.
On behalf of the Iraqi Accordance Front, I hereby support and back this initiative. I call on the Iraqi people to rally behind this initiative.
Iraqi parliament members called on Iraqis to stand united and support efforts exerted by the Iraqi Prime Minister in order for this initiative to prevail.
Mr. President, you must have enough courage because you're now the leader of Iraq and the father of all Iraqis. You are now responsible for any bloodshed in Iraq. You are responsible today and tomorrow, and you will be judged by history and God Almighty.
According to observers, the National Reconciliation Initiative is an opportunity for all Iraqis to reconsider their positions and recuperate from all wounds for the sake of a new, stable, peaceful, secure, and free Iraq.
In Iraq, the Prime Minister, Nouri al-Maleki, submitted a national reconciliation initiative which received praise and criticisms from Sunni Muslims who pointed out its deficiencies. Tariq al-Hashemain, the Iraqi vice president, said that the initiative is not sufficient in bringing the resistance to the negotiating table. However, the Arab League praised the initiative, confirming that it will contribute to the League's efforts to hold an Iraqi National Accord Conference.
The National Reconciliation Initiative, which was submitted by the Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki, continues to dominate political discussions in Iraq. The Iraqi Vice President Tariq al-Hashimi, who is also the General Secretary of the Islamic Party, the largest Sunni party in Iraq, said that the initiative does not do enough to bring the Iraqi resistance to the negotiation table. Hashimi says that the initiative is missing fundamental features, including setting a timetable for the withdrawal of foreign forces, acknowledging that the resistance is a legitimate right, and releasing prisoners. He confirmed that the Iraqi problem is not exclusively caused by the occupation, but also by sectarian divisions and militias, as well as from neighboring countries, especially Iran. The Arab League Secretary General Amr Moussa praised Maleki's National Reconciliation Initiative, saying that it contributes to the League's efforts to hold an Iraqi National Accord Conference, and confirmed that the initiative is a launching pad towards a serious and a comprehensive dialogue between the various political forces in Iraq. Maleki revealed the fundamental elements of his initiative, which are aimed at stopping sectarian violence, re-evaluating the policy of rooting out members of the outlawed Ba'ath Party and ending sectarian militias, and offering a limited amnesty for political prisoners. Mauritanians approved today a referendum on the new draft constitution. The military council for the ruling Democratic and Justice Party in Mauritania presented a proposal that calls on the government to promote democracy and to share authority.
In an expected victory, the new Mauritanian amendment to the constitution was approved in a public referendum. Mauritanians said yes for their second constitution because it contains new laws and provides new guarantees, including limiting presidential terms to a period of 5 years. It limits the presidential office to a maximum of 2 terms and cuts down each term to 5 years instead of 6. However, many observers believe that the high voter turnover and results of the referendum were manipulated, especially considering that the former Yemeni regime launched a deceptive democratic campaign that was based on a pack of lies. Meanwhile, the Yemeni Independence Committee for Elections is trying to refute these allegations, saying that the voting process was transparent and fair.
تهمة تحاول اللجنة المستقلة للانتخابات درءها بالبينة والحجة. اللجنة المستقلة للانتخابات كانت موجودة في كل.
The Independent Committee for Elections and international observers monitored the voting process at all centers. We have not received any complaints that may undermine the transparency of the voting process.
The voting on the new amended constitution is seen by some as a popular victory for a political proposal that was endorsed by the military council.
This is an important stage in our democratic campaign. It is also the foundation that paves the way for future democratic stages.
Mauritanians have approved the referendum on the new amended constitution. The new constitution offers guarantees that will help protect voters and the political rights of citizens. According to military leaders, the council will inaugurate a new civilian leader in March 2007.
Voting in the referendum on the new constitution was an essential step in the democratic process. We hope that we will pass all obstacles and that the interim government, political blocs, and the military council for the Democratic and Justice Party will all come unanimously to a national agreement.
Mauritanians voted yes in the referendum on the new amended constitution. However, many loose ends are still underway, especially in light of frequent episodes of coups d'etats in the country due to the manipulation of presidential power, ongoing corruption scams, and mismanagement of internal affairs.
The Yemeni President Ali Abdullah Saleh announced that he will not run in the upcoming presidential elections in September 2006. Meanwhile, leaders of the ruling Public Popular Conference Party are urging the president to reconsider his decision because he is the most qualified man for the job, and he has the best chance to win. However, some observers believe that Saleh's moves are politically motivated. Mr. Saleh is leading efforts to promote political reforms, which include putting an end to corruption in governmental institutions.
الحوار المفتوح الذي قاده الرئيس اليمني مع أكثر من 5,000.
In an exceptional conference, the Yemeni President Ali Abdullah Saleh led a two-day session with more than 5,000 of his party members. The ruling Public Political Conference Party failed to convince Mr. Saleh to reconsider his historical decision of withdrawing from the upcoming presidential elections. Having said that, Mr. Saleh confirmed that he would reconsider his decision if leaders of his party and government officials commit themselves to reforms and take effective measures to combat the spread of corruption in government institutions. The ruling party is expected to strongly address the problem in the next few days.
I've been asked, why did you do it, Mr. President? Withdraw your name from the presidential elections, even though the conference party, the Yemeni people, and various political blocs have renominated you as a candidate for the office of the president. Yes, I am not a taxi cab driver whose job is to transport you from the Furza to the hotels. I am not a taxi cab driver hired by the conference participants or political blocs to do certain jobs for certain interests.
The ruling party is trying to pressure the president to reconsider his decision for the sake and interests of the Yemeni people. Some observers believe that his decision to withdraw from the upcoming elections was politically motivated. Mr. Saleh is leading efforts to promote political reforms, maintain stability, and crack down on all forms of corruption.
Yemen is part of this world. It is also part of this regional and international community. His Excellency, Mr. Salih, led efforts to promote far-reaching reforms in Yemen. He's proven to the international and regional constituents that he plays an active and effective role in the world's stability.
We are in need for our brother Ali Abdullah Saleh in the upcoming elections because he knows how to identify and combat all areas of corruption.
تجمع أحزاب اللقاء المشترك المعارض وفي رد يبدي قراءة مسبقة لواقع النتائج المحتملة.
In a joint meeting for Yemeni opposition parties and groups, opposition leaders announced that they will pick in the next few days a competitive candidate for the upcoming presidential elections. In this exceptional conference for the ruling party, leaders urged the Yemeni president to reconsider his historical decision of withdrawing from the upcoming elections. It is most likely that Mr. Saleh will bow to his ruling party's pressures and run in the upcoming elections.
بمشاركة نشطاء وخبراء عرب تنظم على مدار يومين بالجزائر ورشة.
A two-day workshop for the advancement of Arab women in the political sphere and decision-making process is being held in Algeria by the Center for Arab Women Training and Research. The participants include experts and activists from Arab countries who are raising the issue of Arab women participation and how to boost it in these countries.
على بقية الدول العربية.
The participation of Arab women in the political sphere and the decision-making process is the main topic of this workshop, which is being organized by the Center for Arab Women Training and Research. The center works to develop women's political work by building on the experience of efforts by women in Lebanon, Egypt, Tunisia, and Algeria.
مصر، تونس والجزائر.
مستوى الهيئات القيادية في الأحزاب هناك ترسم الخطط وترسم السياسات لإنجاز.
We are concentrating on leadership positions in political parties because this is where policies are made and implemented. In Algeria, we know that the subject of women is in every party's platform, but we want the issue to be taken more seriously until Algerian women have a more significant presence in the parliament. And I think there is already a lot of awareness about this issue.
وأعتقد أن هناك وعي كبير بهذه المسألة.
The participants are hoping to find ways in the next 2 days to further advance the political work of Arab women through workshops like these. They will come up with different strategies that suit each country independently by raising awareness among policymakers.
الاستراتيجية هي تنطلق أولا برصد ما هو موجود على أرض الواقع. بعد ما نعمل تحليل هذه الحاجيات نقوم بخطة.
The reality on the ground will determine the strategy undertaken. After analyzing the situation, we come up with long-range plans with the cooperation of other organizations working for the same cause. The programs would take about 3 to 4 years to implement. So now we have a comprehensive program that has come from 7 Arab countries about women and their role in decision-making.
يعني احنا الآن عندنا برنامج متكامل انطلق بدراسة في 7 بلدان عربية حول المرأة العربية وصنع القرار.
Because the percentage of Arab women who participate in the political sphere is the weakest in the world, the organizers of the workshop are working to break societal taboos and enable women to climb up the political ladder and become part of the decision-making process.
لا يكفي أن تتوفر القوانين بل ينبغي أيضا العمل على تجسيدها.
It is not enough to draft new laws. We have to ensure their implementation and to ensure equality between the two sexes in all public spheres, whether in parliament or city councils or any other area where men and women can contribute equally and make decisions.
سهامة للرجال والنساء في التعود والتدرب على المشاركة في اتخاذ القرار.
وعلى الرغم من حداثة مثل هذه الأنشطة الدعائية لدعم مشاركة.
Despite the fact that such efforts to advance the role of Arab women in the political sphere are recent, they are becoming widely known and are gaining increasing support.
مثل هذه الأفكار. ساعة طلال في قناة أبو ظبي، الجزائر.
Francesco Totti scored a penalty in the last minute of stoppage time to give 10-man Italy a 1-0 win over Australia in the World Cup second round. Totti blasted home the penalty after defender Fabio Grosso had tumbled over Lucas Neal's challenge. Italy were forced on to the back foot throughout the second half after being reduced to 10 men on 15 minutes when defender Marco Materazzi was sent out for bringing down Marco Brecciano. Brazilian striker Robinho is out of Tuesday's World Cup second round meeting with Ghana as a 5-time world champions bid to reach the quarterfinals. The 22-year-old Real Madrid star had a scar on his painful right thigh, which forced him to leave training early. And Germany coach Jürgen Klinsmann says World Cup quarterfinal opponents Argentina are far from invincible and is optimistic his team can come out on top on Friday, ending a miserable winless run against top nations in the process. Germany have failed to defeat a recognized top footballing nation since October 2000 when a Dietmar Hamm goal helped them to a 1-0 World Cup qualifying win over England. And now let's have a glance at how major foreign currency rates stood in the open market in Iran on Monday.
The views expressed on Mosaic are not those of Link TV or its sponsors, but of the broadcasters themselves. Mosaic is made possible by a grant from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation which promotes journalism excellence worldwide and invests in the vitality of 26 U.S. communities. And the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. Additional support is provided by the Firedoll Foundation and Henry and Virgilia Dakin. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs which connect you to the world.